The cold wind howled through the war-torn streets of a small French village. Smoke curled from the shattered remains of buildings, and the distant thud of artillery fire echoed through the hills. Private James Carter adjusted his helmet, gripping his M1 Garand rifle tightly as he followed his unit through the debris-littered road. It was 1944, and the U.S. Army had launched its full-scale invasion of Nazi-occupied France. James, a farm boy from Nebraska, had never imagined himself standing in the midst of such devastation. He had enlisted with dreams of heroism, of defending freedom, but nothing had prepared him for the raw horror of war. His squad, Charlie Company of the 29th Infantry Division, had been ordered to secure the village before advancing deeper into enemy territory. Captain Reynolds, a stern but fair leader, signaled for them to take cover near the remnants of a stone wall. "We push forward, but keep your eyes open," he ordered. "The Germans won't give up this position easily." James swallowed hard and moved in formation with his comrades. His best friend, Private Danny O'Connor, flashed him a nervous grin. "Ain't exactly the farmland back home, is it?" James shook his head. "Not even close." A sudden crack of gunfire split the air, and the men hit the ground as bullets ricocheted off the rubble. The Germans had spotted them. Suppressing fire, Sergeant Wilkins shouted. Machine guns rattled as the American soldiers returned fire. James pressed himself against the ground, his heart hammering. The enemy was entrenched inside the ruins of a church, using its thick stone walls as cover. "James, Danny, flank them from the right," Captain Reynolds barked. "Move." James took a deep breath and nodded. Crawling through the rubble, he and Danny maneuvered their way around the church. Explosions shook the ground as mortar fire rained down from German positions further up the hill. Danny nudged him. "We take M by surprise." James tightened his grip on his rifle and peeked around the corner. 2 German soldiers manned a machine gun near the church entrance. He steadied his aim, exhaled, and fired. 1 enemy soldier dropped instantly. Danny took down the second. The machine gun was silent. With the advantage shifting, Charlie Company pushed forward. The battle raged for what felt like hours. Grenades exploded, sending debris flying, and the smell of gunpowder filled the air. James fired until his hands were sore, his body moving on sheer adrenaline. Then, suddenly, the gunfire ceased. The last of the German defenders had fallen, and the village was theirs. But the cost was high. Several of James's comrades lay wounded or dead. He knelt beside one of them, Sergeant Wilkins, blood staining his uniform. Wilkins grasped James's hand, his voice weak. "You did good, kid." James swallowed the lump in his throat. "We'll get you home, Sarge." The medics worked tirelessly as the soldiers regrouped. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an eerie glow over the village, James sat with Danny, exhaustion settling in. "We made it," Danny murmured. James nodded, though his heart was heavy. They had won the battle, but the war was far from over. Tomorrow, they would march forward, deeper into enemy lines, toward an uncertain fate. Yet, as James looked at his fellow soldiers, men who had faced hell and still stood, he knew one thing: they would keep fighting. For their fallen, for their families, and for the dream of victory. The echoes of valor would live on.